love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the Ushanka Show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life in Soviet Union.
Hey guys, this is Sergey, Ushanka Show, and unfortunately I had problems with my internet today. I was trying to go on live from my computer, but unfortunately it works from the phone, but it doesn't work from the computer. So I would like, hey, how's it going? I got the first viewers or not. How's it going? Welcome to my live show. So anyway, I got some changes in my plans. Apparently, my in-laws will be looking at some house at 12:30, and they would like me and my wife, to join them. So unfortunately, I will have to make this video, this live show, really short. So I'll try to answer your questions. First question already came about soccer in Soviet Union. Football, we don't call it soccer, we call it football. It was the most popular kind of sport for people to watch. Hello, Pink Floyd 63. We got the middle of the day here. Good evening. So yeah, it was really popular to watch. In Kiev, in my hometown, we had a team called Dynamo Kiev. There were a couple strong teams in Moscow and St. Petersburg. And comparing ice hockey was, I would say, was not second most popular sport to watch. Ice hockey wasn't that popular because teams in Moscow were taking all the best players from all over the country. But when it came to soccer or football, we had really powerful team in Kiev and others, so it was fun to watch. So soccer, I was a big fan of team, and I lost interest in sports now since I got older. But yeah, soccer was really popular. To see another question, unfortunately the phone, I have a issue. I want to know what you knew about USA in the West. Well, during the Soviet Union, all the only information you can get about Soviet Union. Hello, Bill from United Kingdom. Welcome to the show. Was the newspapers, radio, TV, and of course they showed all the negatives. So we will see lines of unemployed people, stuff like that, but really hardly anything positive. The next question was coming about buying a truck in Soviet Union. You couldn't buy a truck. His only vehicles you could purchase will be cars. And you can watch my videos, like 9 years to wait in line to purchase, not in line, on list, to purchase Lada, or you can buy a motorcycle. Question from Janet, what about shampoos and cosmetics and perfume? Shampoo, first time I tried was probably in mid of 80s. That's the first time I saw shampoo for sale, and that stuff was so strong that I have a horrible dandruffs. Otherwise, most Soviet people used soap to wash. We had like a children's soap, and a lot of people preferred that, and regular soap, and quite a few people used so-called хозяйственное мыло, which is like a soap that you do your laundry with, but people used it quite often to wash themselves. Actually, I brought a couple bars of that soap here to show my kids. All right, comments disappeared. So as I mentioned, unfortunately, I can't have this show for a long time. Do you miss the USSR? I don't. I mentioned many times thinking about my life back in USSR. I was really lucky because I was born in 1971, so my childhood pretty much was in Soviet Union. So for the kids, Soviet Union was amazing. I really liked the Soviet system of education, school. We had a free college education, but you could just go, not anyone would go to college. You have to pass the tests, like entry test. If you don't score. All right, so there we have a first donation from Random, and thank you. And computer game crisis in Kremlin. Huh. Need to look it up, and I can try for it. So anyways, cosmetics, yes, I do like borscht. Actually, when I met my wife on a blind date, that was one of the questions she asked, do you like borscht? And this is why I right away kind of like, oh, I like this lady already, besides that she's pretty. Because to find on just like that on a blind date American who knows how to cook borscht Was amazing luck for me. Uh, so I'm trying to finish my answer about life in Soviet Union. So as a kid, I'm very happy to spend my childhood in Soviet Union, but as an adult, it was extremely boring. Jobs were mostly manual and repetitive. So that's why we had a horrible issue with drinking. That's one of the reasons why Gorbachev started fighting against excessive alcohol consumption, which was it's a different story. But yeah, you could see like people would just finish working the shift and then they just sit down, have a bottle of vodka. I told you already the story how people drink. You split three people for one half liter of bottle of vodka. Next question: Bollywood movies in Soviet Union. Bollywood, so it's from India. Yes, they were mega popular. I watched many of those. I didn't like the love dramas, but action movies were really fun. When you in your like early 10, 11, 12 years old, you enjoy that type of show. Now, of course, it looks funny, but there's a lot of drama. So yeah, Bollywood movies from India were very, very popular in Soviet Union. See if I can recover the comments. That's one of the minus doing live from the phone is that the comments disappear. So yeah, as I said, I was extremely lucky because I have a good memories of Soviet Union because of my childhood. But later, when I became teenager, I started kind of hating the things that I didn't like. Was Western movies allowed under Gorbachev? Um, we had a special commission that checked everything, and they make the decision about music, what kind of movies to import. So some movies made it. We had a movie, the Convoy, the rubber duck. I remember that one because it showed a rebellion of the American workers, American truckers against the system. The movie Next Day. Oleg, hello, how are you? So that movie was on TV actually. They didn't put it in the movie theaters. They showed it on TV, and I remember that was really bizarre for us to watch because the Hollywood movies different from Soviet movies. You have a bunch of parallel lives stories, and then they all merge into one. So yeah, I remember watching the movie about nuclear holocaust, and that was pretty cool. Janet asking again, did my mom? Yes, my mom wore makeup. Actually, my mom was very, very pretty when she was in her younger years. Always wore high heels to work. And yes, she had a makeup, lipstick, eyes. I don't remember her using ever like hairsprays, but yeah, it's a thing, a culture thing, and for Soviet women, and now for women in Russia, Ukraine. Like I remember dating one lady, and she said like even from teenager on, her mom taught her like, hey, even if you go for the quick store run to buy bread or milk, you can just go right that like here the ladies go in pajama pants. You need to go in bathroom, and we didn't have a special powder room. You Thank you, Tracy. Yeah, 6,000 subscribers, very exciting. Now we're looking towards 10,000 hopefully pretty soon. And so you always put makeup on, dress up nicely so they look nice, and you walk. Of course, you don't have a car, so you walk to the store and buy it. Question about Gopniks. Do we have Gopniks in Soviet Union? Did we have it? Um, I don't think that time we had that much, but there's pictures of people who like to hang out since there was not a lot of entertainment besides movie theaters and maybe theaters. So the people like to hang out, just drink, and they will squat down like Gopnik style. Gopnik, it's the whole culture, like they are kind of like a bad boys and they hit you, trying to take, they don't rob you. They're like, hey, do you have any spare change? Do you have a cigarette? So they, asking for one cigarette, then they take a whole pack from you. So it was going on probably, though mostly it started kind of in the 90s. Hey, Johan, thank you so much for your donation. Thank you so much. Keep it up. I appreciate your help. There is a question also. First of all, I would like to explain my silly mustache. I work at the power plant, and right now we have outage, which is going to last till the middle of December. And so I'll be working a lot, 4 days on, 1 day off till middle of December. And all the guys on shift, they decided we're gonna keep the mustache till the outage going on. So I'm gonna try to grow it lower to have a what's a munchi or whatever it's called, because it looks kind of silly right now. But my wife hates it, so Next question: did you ever visit Estonia? No, unfortunately. When I was in Soviet Union, teenager, I didn't care much about traveling. Now I'm really mad at myself. I only was in Latvia, I think. When we were in eighth grade, we traveled the whole class. I was from school. It was like exchange. So a class from Riga came to Kiev and they stayed in our school. Like they set up cots, right, in auditorium, and they visited Kiev and we visited same way Riga. So yeah, I was in Latvia in 1985, maybe. What do you think about liberals in the Soviet Union trying to implement the socialism? This is a really good question because I am a confused person because there's a couple things like I definitely don't like Republicans in America, but I don't like Democrats either. I'm more like libertarian type of person with some socialism flavor because there was good things about Soviet Union, but you know, I don't know what a good comparison. It's like a manure, right? If you apply a little bit in the garden, it makes good things, makes plant grow. But if you put a giant pile of manure on the top of your garden, you kill everything. So this pretty much, uh, like a lot of the social programs, if you apply them smart, they may do good things. But if, of course, if you like free for everyone, then you're gonna kill the whole garden. So I don't like Republicans because they're full of crap. What I mean is, when they are at power, they do things exactly opposite from the things they say when Democrats at power. So when Obama was at power, they were screaming bloody Mary about holy cow, look at the debt that we're raking, it's gonna kill our country. Now we have Trump in power, and the first thing they do make a giant tax cut, which skyrocketed even more the country debts, and they promise, well, it's gonna pay for itself, but we already know the situation in Kansas that it doesn't work. So this is what I really don't like about Republicans, is that they always have this double standard, that what they say when what they say when they're not in power, and what they do when they're at power is quite opposite. And the Saint Reagan, that it's kind of like everyone loves him who is Republican. He actually was also the president who made uh, the debt of the United States skyrocket. There was a question, do I love Putin, which is a silly question since I am originally from Kiev, Ukraine, and with the events in Crimea and in eastern Ukraine, of course, I'm not a fan of Putin, we'll put it mildly. And besides what he does in surrounding countries, I think he's making a huge damage to Russia itself. My concern, or maybe it's a good thing for Russia, that Russia gonna just like Soviet Union will collapsed, and instead of one big country had 15 republics. I'm thinking Russia will follow, and there will be maybe like 3 or 4 regions, because right now the way the system's set up, Moscow is pretty much sucking all the money out of all the juice out of the country. So Moscow is the one like holding 80% of the cash flow of the country, and the countries that oil rich and gas rich, full of resources, they actually poor, because Moscow takes money first, then gives it spreads around in the regions. So this is my thoughts about Putin and situation in Russia. As I said, and now another announcement about raising pension. What is the Marxist opinion of the universal basic income? Thank you. We got another donation. Thank you, Mr. Random. Well, first of all, I'm not Marxist. As I said, this is kind of like we're going back to idea of communism, but from the capitalist kind of, so there is this final destination when we have so much productivity that we really don't need people to work so much. So now, like, okay, let's, like, that idea of communism, that the productivity is so high that people work if they want to work, and they don't work if they don't, and you just go to the store and you take things that you need. So sounds amazing. So yeah, my master is real, unfortunately or fortunately. So universal basic income is kind of same thing, like, but since it's not communism, so instead of canceling money at all, you just give everyone some kind of, regardless you work or not, you give them money. and they spend it. I don't know. It's just, unfortunately, it's ideal system for ideal people. So if everyone will work hard, regardless they get money or not. But as we know, if I'm getting, you just look at the people who right now on the welfare in America. A lot of these people that they're full body, they can work, but they prefer not to. And then the way the system's set up, like it's more financially advantageous for you to not to work, take government support, and you got discounts in your apartment, you got food stamps, and if you will start working and you lose all those benefits, you actually be way worse. Uh, as I mentioned, another question about Gopniks, I said I don't think we had that much. It was more like 90s after Soviet Union collapsed. We had these things. Janet is asking, yes, I think, Janet, I got your donation. I need to check. I don't get notification from PayPal on my regular email, so I need to check. But I believe there's a $20, and I really appreciate your support. As I said, unfortunately, I'm not that good with making videos like video montage and stuff. So I have a guy who is my editor, and he's helping. Yeah, Janet, thank you. Yep, I got it. I appreciate it. And I would like to pay him for his help, so that's why I'm asking. Because on YouTube, unfortunately, the way the system works, you need to have huge amount of subscribers and minutes of viewing. And the topics I'm touching, it's not like every day everyone is interested in it. Unfortunately, most people they just want a mindless entertainment. So I know I'm attracting the people who like to learn new things, and so that means that we're not gonna have a lot of subscribers at other channels that, just entertain people. It's about time to go. All right, guys. Well, my wife is waiting for me. It's about time to go. I'm sorry. This is a short one. This is my wife, Cheryl, who knows how to cook borscht even before she met her Russian husband. So anyways, if you would like to post some questions under this video, I'll answer later. I might be able to do another short live video this evening, but I don't promise it because we got a lot of things going on today. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate your support, and just share this video with your friends. We can always use more people who are interested to learn about life in Soviet Union. Okay, we'll talk to you later. Goodbye. Yeah, I need to figure out how to shut this thing off. Hey, we are back again. It looks like we are live. Please let me know if you hear the sound. Sorry for these technical issues, but for some reason it's just not working right. My computer refuses to go live at all, so please let me know if you can hear me. As I said, can you guys hear me right now? Please post in the comment. Watching. Hey, all right, so we got sound, great. So we're good no. All right, so okay, I will be looking up because it's easier to watch on the computer. Your comments, they don't disappear, so I apologize. It'll be kind of silly way, but I'll be looking up while phone is recording right here. So anyways, welcome back. I'm here till 10 p.m. so for about 30 minutes to answer questions, because tomorrow I gotta go to work. So if you guys have any questions, you can post it. Hi Josh, watching from National Harbor, Maryland. So first question we have, was there any conflict between cultures in the USSR? I won't say we had conflicts, but of course, like anybody else who, like neighboring nations, you have jokes and humor about other nations. So, for example, if we joke about Russians, they like to drink vodka too much and they're lazy. And at the same time, Ukrainians, Russians will be joking that Ukrainians addicted to salo, that pork fat, and they stupid. Latvians usually will be like really slow. So all the humor about Latvians, anybody from Baltic states, that they are super slow people. And for example, it would be like war starts, and then 2 months later they will announce mobilization, so jokes like that. I think the worst relations was with Western Ukraine because it was taken over by Soviet Union, and the Western Ukrainians they really didn't like Soviet regime, so that was I think like they were the least assimilated nationality in the Soviet Union. What was the view for the Soviet satellite countries like Bulgaria, Armenia, and so on? Well, we didn't really see those countries except on TV, so we had a good attitude. I think my cousin, she was in kind of dating once a Bulgarian guy, student who was studying here in Kiev, but otherwise, uh, Yugoslavia was different because they kind of went their own way with Tito, so they kind of were like not good as other social camp, but still better than Western countries. So, oh, we got even people from Australia. Ken, thanks. Can't hear for long. If you could visit any former communist country while it was communist, which would it be? Mm, definitely, it's like when you're a teenager, you don't appreciate the opportunities. And I don't think I would had any actual opportunities to travel. I could travel in the Soviet Union pretty inexpensively, but I had no interest. But going to other countries, you had to have blood. I already talked about it. Like you need to know people who can get you putyovka, which is like a trip ticket. But probably Germany will be most interesting because they were the most different country out of all of them. Bulgaria kind of pretty similar. Romania, we never liked Romanians much because they're like gypsies. So I guess will be Germany. All right, go moving again. Next question. I was wondering, did people in the USSR have the ability to quit their job and seek employment in another factory? Yes, it actually there was a term even coined for people like that called letun. So that's you can translate like the person who flies. And there was quite a lot of propaganda because government considered it wasn't a good thing that some usually there'll be engineer or somebody who's in high demand, worker won't be doing it. That some people will be like changing jobs all the time, looking for better opportunities, and they were called letuni. And yeah, usually government wasn't happy about it that people jump from position to position. What was the legal drinking age in the USSR? I believe 21 also, but I am not positive. It wasn't really heavily reinforced. It was totally okay to send a little kid to buy a bottle of vodka for your father. So it wasn't really strict at that time. I believe it was 21. I know smoking was 18 maybe. Honestly, was too young to worry about it. But yeah, that was a quite easy way to go. You can buy, of course, it depends on the lady at the store, but you could buy. Like I remember buying as a kid vodka for my dad in the store. Hello from Spain. Oh wow. Buenas noches. I'm reading Gorbachev memoirs. Did you read it? No, I didn't know that he wrote memoirs, but I can tell you one thing. Um, that he's been a super hated person right now in Russia. They think he's the reason why the Soviet Union collapsed, which is totally stupid. But I agree with you, it was inevitable. Sometimes Gorbachev looks to me like, there was this failing dam holding this giant pressure, and he decided if you poke the hole carefully to relieve the pressure, and as a result, it's, a dam failed, and Gorbachev kind of got washed away on the sides of the history. So yeah, I agree with you on that. Hey Ushanka, I love you. Thank you. Hello from Nepal. Wow, we are all over the world. And hello from Mexico. Hello. Moving. Was guns legal in USSR? Not really. Uh, the only guns you can purchase will be hunting rifles, not rifles, hunting guns. So they not rifles. So yeah, weapons. Government didn't want people own weapons, so it was only police that had pistols, and of course army and criminals. They'll try to steal. Most of the time, they'll be like recovered some guns from World War II. Are people in former USSR nations better off now or in the USSR? Well, it depends what is in your understanding what is better off. It's always trade is, you can't win both ways. People have more freedom, but unfortunately, people who with the government is the same communists. So they just corruption exploded, and I would say, you got more freedom, but life standards for a lot of people went down quite a bit. But now, it's like everywhere else. You have rich people. You have more poor people. Before there was kind of leveled. And Asian countries is the worst. I agree because they're just pretty much like clans now. They locked up the power, and it's like relatives around in the countries. Because I remember in Kazakhstan, the richest person in Kazakhstan happened to be president's son-in-law. Then they got divorced, and suddenly they got a bunch of criminal investigations about him. Do you have a second YouTube channel? Yes, I do have a second YouTube channel. It's in Russian, and I tell people in former Soviet Union about life in America. So yes, I do. And no, it's not my channel about starships. Is the new generation of Russians affected by the former past? It's hard to say that because right now that's really they scrub and clean all the Soviet heritage, and a lot of people, with the Putin and his government, they're trying to kind of say that Stalin was a great manager and Soviet Union was great, and life was way better during the Soviet Union. So there's a lot of disinformation going on right now. They're trying to make it look that it was way better, and it's one of the reasons I got banned from one of the Google Plus groups because I was posting things what I remember. They're like, no, we always had things. No, we never had lines. So yes. Moving along. I think you have a U.S. center-left worships Gorbachev because they think he intentionally collapsed the USSR. Please comment on this view. Thank you for your donation. Want to say I honestly didn't hear him being worshipped. Actually, in Russia, they're thinking that Gorbachev was actually CIA agent, like deep undercover, and that's, yes, he collapsed the Soviet Union on purpose. I think he honestly tried to fix unfixable, and because if you remember, he had three slogans. It was perestroika, so rebuilding, and then ускорение, like you speed up the things up, and glasnost, like a freedom of speech, and it went downhill. So no, I don't believe he did it on purpose. It just, I'm gonna say it's a wrong time and a good time, because if you think about it, Andropov before him, I mean, Chernenko was nothing. He just kind of was sick all the time, so he didn't do anything. But he truly tried to modernize the country, and he was fighting against this horrible problem with drinking, but he definitely failed. So yes, yeah. Okay, I missed a little bit. Let's see, next question. Socialists don't use money, but here's some anyway. So thank you for the Asian $10. I never said I'm a socialist. I just happen to live in Soviet Union and remember things pretty well, and I can speak in pretty good English, so I can tell you my stories. We got more people joining. Thank you very much for joining, guys. We got 29 guys, so thank you. There's a question: was the bus service was good? I won't say it was good, but it was reliable. And an interesting, like when I used to live in in Kiev, like traveling to the other towns were really painful. You have to use bus or train because most people don't have cars. And traveling from Kiev to the village was 12 hours. Now I can do the same thing using private buses in like 4 hours. So it's improved quite a bit. Окей, moving along. Антон, я зарабатываю те же деньги здесь, как и на канале Другая Америка, только у меня всего лишь 6000 подписчиков, то есть здесь намного продуктивнее идет канал. When will your book will be out? I'm pretty much done doing the final kind of combing through, so I hope to do it before Christmas, but I hope beginning of next year I'll have my book ready. It's called American Diaries, and I think it's turned out pretty well because besides just telling the story of me coming to America for the very first time, so it's kind of like an Eddie Murphy movie, Coming to America, right? I think it was called. This is Coming to America from Soviet Union, or just newly former Soviet Union, but I add a lot of things which relates to my story of life in Soviet Union. So I believe that now Russian, my book is available. That one doesn't have stories about Soviet Union, but people have a really good feedback. They said book is really good and easy to read. Okay, moving on. Can you speak at university courses as a guest speaker? Of course I could. I think we talked about it a while back, but I mean, I don't want to spend my own money going to university. So if they would like to cover my travel and expenses, I'll be more than thrilled to help. Via Skype we can help, but it's a little bit, I would prefer to talk to students face to face. They'll be, I think, more old-fashioned, more Soviet way. Okay, moving along. What's the type of stuff you tell Russians about the USA? Well, I tell them what I see, and the issue with a lot of channels, people who move to America, they trying to like show like everything's so amazing here. Like they call them put the rose-colored glasses on. There's a couple guys that like really negative about it. I'm just telling what it is. I mean, there's a lot of positive things. There's a lot of negative things. Like personally, I don't think I would be able to have a level of life like I have here in America back in Kiev because I'm just too honest. So I never had a problem here in America to find a job. If you work hard and don't do stupid stuff, you can get a pretty decent life. It's considering that I'm a foreigner. Is it true the Russians don't like vodka anymore? Well, they definitely started drinking more beer. So that was a huge explosion in beer drinking. But I believe people still drink a lot of vodka, but now they have way more options to try. Before it was pretty much, like cheap, inexpensive wine, some beer and vodka, and now it's more options. So when I was in Ukraine and I met with my subscribers, one guy brought me a bottle of vodka as a present. So I love Soviet anthem. Yes, I do too. I mean, I used to hate it because it was like my alarm. It was playing at 6 a.m. So that was always, like you don't. That's one of the rules. You don't ever put your favorite song or music as alarm because you're gonna start hating it. Okay, moving along. What do you think about Crimea? What do other Russians that think about annexation? It's definitely, I consider, was illegal the way it was done. It was pretty much quiet occupation, kind of similar what Hitler did to Austria. A lot of local people who are Russians were happy about it. Most Russians approve it because it's kind of like they have a historical connection, I would say, to Crimea. But from I think it was a big mistake of Russia to do that because I don't think they realized that how to put it, that it will be so much consequences. They think it's just gonna slide like war in Georgia, probably several years earlier. But now I think country and the Russian economy in quite a bit in trouble because of sanctions. Okay, next question. But there's quite a few Russians that they say, that was the dumbest thing to do. Our lives got so much worse, so it wasn't worth it. And there's an interesting story now about the bridge they built. They want to build that supposedly can fail anytime. What were the public libraries like in Soviet Union? Do you have access to any Western literature? Well, there was quite a few public libraries. Actually, I like to go. Like every school, of course, had the library, and I was going to the. I think I talked about it in one of my videos about architecture. There was a library, like a central Kiev children's library, and they have quite a good selection. Of course, the Western literature was, Jack London was famous, and some other ones. But of course, we didn't have Agatha Christie, so some like older ones, not a lot of modern Western literature. Do you eat chicken Kiev? Yes, I do. Hi, Janet, you're back. I'm glad to see you're back. I never ate chicken Kiev in Kiev, but I eat chicken Kiev here. We buy it at Meyer, pre-made, and I really like it. But it's funny that when I first time came in the United States, I gave up telling people that I'm from Ukraine because no one knew what Ukraine was. Most people didn't. But if I say I'm from Russia, but they knew what Kiev is. Some people knew because of Chernobyl, and some people knew about Kiev because of the chicken Kiev. So it's kind of funny. Was Soviet culture liberal or conservative in general? Well, Soviet culture was controlled by communist commission so of course it was quite conservative. We had a lot of classical music played on radio, so like all the pop music and kind of like modern music was quite, you couldn't listen to it on the radio all the time. So there was like a culture, and then there was a subculture. So it was, I would say, more conservative on the government level, of course, because every time the government controls things, that it's not what people usually like. Are today's Russian Ukrainian aptekas easier to get prescription drugs in the US? If you travel as a group in Russia, can you get medicine easily? Probably it's easier to get prescription drugs. I believe so. It's probably easier to get prescription too, because a lot of times, and doctors get like cash back from pharmaceutical companies for prescribing their drugs. I know it for a fact because one of my friends is a doctor, and that's like it's a normal thing that if you subscribe specific drugs that you get the cash back. Indians do a lot of it. Drugs from India, so I think it should be pretty easier, but I'm not sure what kind of medicines we're talking about. Did you have Pledge of Alliance type of thing in school in your son? No, we actually, this type of thing, I'm surprised. I think in America there's more of this, flag being raised and people singing before games. We didn't have it in the Soviet Union. The only thing we have, it's like when you become a pioneer and they get this red, like a tie around your neck, then you kind of promise to be a good pupil and study good and do what Communist Party tells you to do, but otherwise no, we didn't have these pledges. What was your reaction when the Soviet Union collapsed? I was very excited because I lived in Ukraine and I thought Ukraine will have a great chance to be independent, and we're going to have a way better life without Soviet Union. But things didn't turn out really well. We got freedom, but definitely most people's life got way worse. What was the most popular sport in USSR? Was soccer, football, I would call it, and the second one was ice hockey, and after that is maybe basketball, but definitely soccer was the most popular. Were disabled children stuck in orphanage and later entered in a prison system? If they were adopted, My girlfriend family came to the US for better care for cerebral palsy. I am not sure about that, Patrick, honestly. Won't be surprised. I don't think they'll be entered in the prison system, but we definitely had so-called детский дом, детдомы, and I have no information about how the adoption system worked, but I know a lot of детдомовцы, so-called kids who left, grew up in operations, they end up being criminals. So you enter, prison system not automatically, but only if you do stupid things. Okay, moving along. If you could bring back one aspect of life in the Soviet Union to your life, what would it be? Oh my goodness, that's a pretty interesting question. I would like to see my kids had in school like they had in Soviet Union, which will make their life way worse. But I think that was way better than here. I think it's not even studying. What I see, like we had a lot of homework. So my life as a pupil was pretty miserable, but it helped me a lot in my life. So no pain, no gain. And here, just schools don't prepare people for adult life, and then kids enter colleges, and then they have to study all over again because the schools, like high school, that didn't do a good job. Your favorite song and movie back in the USSR? It's back then. I'd say probably 17 Moments of Spring, the one I already mentioned in one of my videos. It's about World War II. It's an old black and white movie. That was good, but there was quite a few good movies. But there's my favorite comedy. Then there's my favorite action movie. But favorite song is Uch Kuduk. I think it will show up in English, but that was very popular. Uch Kuduk. I don't remember the band. You can try to look it up. I just posted the name. Was service in Soviet restaurants bad by our standards? It's hard to say because the only time I was in Soviet restaurant is when we had someone's wedding. Like usually regular Soviet people didn't go to the restaurants. It was only for special occasions. And it was very expensive. So it's only people with money like taxi drivers or maybe government officials, but usually you go into restaurant when you celebrate some big events, and it was mostly not for eating. It's mostly the zakuska. It's more about drinking and partying, and then you eat food with it. But generally, I think food was worse. It was really, was nothing super fancy. You didn't have choices like Italian style or whatever. But I said I was in the Soviet Union. I was in restaurant maybe 3 or 4 times in all my 20 years in Soviet Union. We didn't have this culture of eating out whatsoever. You always, parents cook from scratch at home and you eat at home. And what did you think of people outside the union but still communist? I kind of similar question already was prior. I mean, not much because we just knew they're good guys, but otherwise, they just been using newspaper about some successes in those countries, but I don't think I ever met any people from those countries while I was in the Soviet Union. Do you get tired of being called a Russian by Americans even though you're from Ukraine? Not really. I actually gave up a long time ago. And another thing, if you say I'm Ukrainian, or people are confused and they ask a question, you can explain. If you say you're Russian, I mean, I'm impressed. Like most people actually like, whoa, this is like really cool that you are Russian. So yeah, most of the time I call myself Russian. But if somebody asks me about what kind of denomination, like religion-wise, I say I'm Soviet. And another thing, I always play games if people making fun of Russians. I say, well, today I'm Ukrainian. If they make fun of Ukrainians, I'm saying, oh, today I'm Russian. If they make fun of Russians and Ukrainians, then I say, well, today I'm Soviet. So I have this flexibility. Plus, the Russian, you can make good jokes. Like, hey, are you in a hurry? No, I'm not Russian. So I totally don't mind. Can you do the hopak? No, I can't. Note the question, please do more videos on Soviet anecdotes. Yeah, I have a long list of anecdotes. I just couldn't get to them. Is it only for Western Ukrainians who want to be totally independent? Do people in Kiev, Odessa, Kharkiv have strong feelings about being reunited with Russia? It's hard to say because they're so different. The Western Ukraine, even their Ukrainian language is different. So it's totally different culture. Eastern Ukraine, there's a lot of Russians. So I guess a lot of them wanted to. It's more like not being with Russia, but more be like Soviet Union. So I don't know. It's hard to say, but Odessa, I think it's more less pro-Russian. But like Kharkiv and Donetsk, those areas, there's a lot of Russians. What did the USSR think of the Northern Korea? Well, we're fine with them because they're on our side, but still, we didn't get any information. I think the only product we were getting from Northern Korea there was this kind of like a Carmex, that lip balm we were getting from Northern Korea, similar stuff. Have you ever been in Kaliningrad? No, I've never been there, unfortunately. The only places I traveled when I was in Soviet Union was Leningrad, Moscow, and Baku. We didn't travel much, so I have no idea what's going on there. Were musical activities such a band and orchestra common? Not really. There's one thing I like about American schools is they have a lot of activities besides studying. We didn't have I think it's a little bit too much sports though going on, but we had maybe like music class, but we didn't have our own orchestra band. It was totally, we didn't have our basketball team, we didn't have any teams. Like in any school I went, they had the special sports schools, and then there they will be having teams and they have a competition between other sports schools, but otherwise we had no orchestra, nothing like that. How was the cultural shock of moving to a place so different? Have people treated you differently due to your nationality? Well, the thing is that first time when I came to work in a summer camp, and there was a special summer camp. It was for inner city kids from Chicago. So everyone was black, from south side, west side, ghetto, counselors and campers. So definitely there was a huge cultural shock, and language-wise, culture-wise. But people thought I'm dumb because I was speaking English very slow and with a strong accent. But kids respected me because I was, big and strong and had an accent like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Actually, I had those rumors going around the camp that I'm a younger brother of Arnold Schwarzenegger because I have a similar accent. All right. Next thing, who could own a truck? There's no private person could own a truck in the Soviet Union, only a car or motorcycle. Most popular dish in Soviet Union. It depends, of course, where people lived. We definitely were meat and potatoes people, so like I eat a lot of borscht and soup for lunch. Like every time we should have something like liquid. And I would say it's a Soviet food, but we had some dishes that people cook only for holidays, like Olivier salad. But mashed potatoes, I think, were always very popular. Then meat was pretty poor quality because they never raised beef for just meat. So the only meat you get was from old cows, like when they stopped doing milk. So then cows get slaughtered, and that's what kind of meat you buy. So of course I never had steak or anything like that. Okay, moving along. How old are you? I'm 47. I was born in 1971. I'm married for 20 years, and I have 4 children total. My wife had 2 children prior when we met, and then we had 2 more. My youngest is 12, Oliver, and my daughter Sasha, she's just turned 18. Could you do videos about former satellite states? It's pretty challenging to do that because I honestly didn't know much about them. I know we had some products from like Germany, like uh, Eastern Germany. They were where you could make pretty decent soaps, and they always had pretty girls in the pictures of the soaps. I remember that. Uh, Hi, Gay. Thanks very much for your channel. I hope you can translate your novel. So book is already translated. It's just I'm trying to make it better. Uh, so it's readable very easy. And then I started going through it again. I found quite a few things that just kind of pretty rough to understand. So I'm trying to make it better. But book is already translated. Just there's the final touches. Was there a lot of anti-Semitism in the Soviet Union? Oh, definitely yes. Uh, a lot. My father was still is pretty hardcore anti-Semitism. A lot of jokes about Jews. So yeah, we had a lot of it. And actually, I remember even my grandfather. Uh, it's kind of interesting because he spent, almost 4 years in being a prisoner of war in Germany. But I remember when he was telling me stories about war in general. And I was very little, maybe like 6 or even younger. But I loved his stories about war. So he was telling me, well, like, and do you understand that Jews already had all the people of Soviet Union in the bag, and they were ready to tighten up the bag. But Hitler came and took care of them. And being so little, I like tried to picture this giant bag that you can fit all the people in. So there's definitely there was a lot of anti-Semitism, and I didn't realize, but we had Soviet people were quite racist. It's just we never had black people around, so you didn't experience. But when we started getting students from Africa, and if the girl would be dating a black guy from Africa, she would having a hell of a time and being harassed. So yes, it's kind of weird, but yeah, Soviet people are quite racist and quite anti-Semites. Could you travel outside the USSR? Yes, you could, but you should. That was quite a cumbersome project. You had to get approval from actually, like, you submit papers and the KGB would look it up and make sure you're trustworthy before you can go anywhere. So that was challenging even for Eastern European countries. And Western countries, it was even harder. Were there tattoos in Soviet Union? Yes, mostly for uh, people like who went to army and then will get tattoo, like related to their military service, or they'll be criminals. It was a big thing in tattoos among criminals because it all has their meaning, and you can look it up online, like a Soviet criminal world tattoos. But otherwise, we don't have anything this craziness that's going on right now with tattoos. But now I know. Same thing in Russia. A bunch of girls getting tattoos and sleeves, but during the Soviet Union, if you see some old guy with tattoos, you know it's all about his story, not just something stupid. All right, moving along. Do you think? Let's see. Sorry, I lost it. Do you think that Christian revival in Russia today is genuine? Well, for real, it's hard to say. I remember it was just kind of like a popular thing to wear a cross on your neck and go to church, but definitely now you could see that Soviet government and the Russian church kind of get together. It's getting ridiculous. Um, but I'm not sure how much it's real. But I remember when I was still there that it was just kind of cool thing to like, oh, we went to church, and you start wearing cross on your neck. But I'm not sure. I think it's definitely overboard right now, especially if you see this lifestyle of the Russian priests. They have main guy has this fancy boat, and anyways. Okay, moving along. I had salad Olivier and I loved it. I'm glad you like that salad. Some people don't think it's good, but I like it. Uh, where do you work? I work at the local power plant. There's a question about my Russian friends. There's more fun. They having more fun in Russia than here in America is gay. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure. I know it was illegal to be gay in Soviet Union. You can get for 9 years in prison for being gay. But I don't know. I think it's a lot of still homophobia going on in Russia. So I'm not positive. Not familiar with that. Uh, we have a Russian guy asking questions if I've been in Ярославль. Я никогда не был в Ярославле. Я был только в Липецке, Москве и Ленинграде. Okay. We all heard of the American dream. Was there a Soviet dream? If so, what was it? I guess Soviet dream was really basic. It's pretty much you can get a nice apartment and then you have a car. And for Russian woman or Soviet woman, there will be to have a husband that doesn't drink. And if he doesn't smoke either, that'll be even best. Hello, what do you think was the best and the worst thing about Soviet Union? Oh, the worst thing is just the whole idea that people, there was ideal system for ideal people, but since there is no ideal people, system failed. I think that what really kicked the Soviet Union in the teeth is the low productivity. It's just when people will work hard only because of greed, so they want to make a lot of money, or because of the fear that they'll get sent to prison. So when the Stalin died and they quit giving people a hard time and send them to Gulag, kind of productivity went down and the country went downhill from there. The best, I had the best childhood. That's all I can say. Childhood in Soviet Union, in my opinion, was the most amazing thing. No worries. It was safe. I never was afraid I'd get abducted on the street. I walked to school by myself back from school when I was 7. So it was safe. But for adults, that was a really boring life. Thank you, Bill. I'm still surprised Soviet Union is going well. I think the Soviet Union did a really good job trying to impress everyone with their success, although there were no successes. Thank you for Hayden for your support, for your donation. I like Russian history. It's help a lot. Thank you so much, and I'm glad you appreciate it. I'm hoping you learned something new from my channel. Do you like Soviet Union better than modern Russia? I wouldn't say that. Modern Russia right now is actually what's scariest part, is becoming more and more like Soviet Union, because the government kind of destroying all the small private businesses, and it's becoming like corporate kind of country with the socialist flavor. And then a lot of things they do, like they just raise the age for the retirement. It's yeah. I wouldn't say I like Soviet Union better than Russia. Right now it's a lot of similarities, but I can't say either way. There's a lot of what Russia's doing right now is really similar to Soviet Union. Is there anything you miss about Soviet Union? It's probably just because I was young guy there. So, but I guess it's a hard question. I would say I really miss anything. I'm just glad I grew up there because I got good schooling and I got good attitude. But otherwise, no. Okay. I just recently discovered a channel. It's awesome. Thank you, Josh. Glad you like my channel. Prank calls in Soviet Union. Yeah, we had those as well. If you had home phone, because not many people had home phones. So how can you do prank calls if you don't have a home phone? And you don't want to pay money to. Kids did prank calls, those phone numbers you can call for free. They'll call firefighters and they say, hey, there's a fire. But otherwise, I don't think we had this random calling. Were you allowed to have international pen pals as students in USSR? I'm not sure. I know I participated. Was this game, but I was inside of Soviet Union. That it's kind of like a pyramid that you send 7 postcards and then you spread addresses and then you get a bunch of postcards later. But I didn't know anyone who corresponded with people. Oh, actually, I remember my godfather mentioned something. They had someone. They got a letter from China, and they couldn't translate it, so they had to send it to the Moscow, that place that they knew how to translate Chinese. But that's the only one I remember. All right. Okay, guys, it's 10 o'clock, so I will need to get it going. The question about toilet paper in Kiev, it was okay. There was only one kind, so you couldn't tell if it was any good or bad. Like in the villages, people just used the old newspapers. But when I came back from the United States, I found the local toilet paper, extremely not pleasant. So now I'm bringing toilet paper with me when I come from America. All right, guys, so I really need to get going because tomorrow I gotta get up at 4:30. No, we never had a computer. I hope you enjoy the show. I will make those 2 videos together, so we'll make it one. Question about Patreon, you just need to follow the link under my video, and it's pretty easy to set it up. Or you can just donate some money. Chain letter, thanks, Janet. Yeah, it was actually worked. I got so many postcards, and I got really good pen friend for a while. Okay, guys, I hope you have a good night. Thanks for joining. We actually had quite a few people. I appreciate you showing up, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye. До свидания. Всего хорошего.